So the worst thing you can do that is tell people to calm down. Well, what a great problem to have. I want to immediately thank the staff like Miona for being so accommodating, bringing in all the extra chairs and letting us open the doors for all the people out in the hallway there. Get here earlier next time. All right, for newer members and visitors, this is the annual meeting of the Village's Democratic Club, the largest Democratic club in the state of Florida. As of this morning, we had 1,319 members. And under our bylaws, we need 10% of the membership to have our election of officers for next year, the board, which we're conducting today. You got ballots on your chairs. I am declaring we have a quorum. And what we need to do is the ballot there, you just need to mark it yes or no for each of the candidates. And I'll run through them in a second after we take care of a couple of the preliminaries. And then we'll collect the ballots, and by the end of the meeting we'll announce if the new board has been elected. So there's that part. The second piece of paper on your chair is a circulating petition for a constitutional amendment in Florida to expand Medicaid coverage. Bob Bird from the Sumter Democratic Executive Committee brought those today. He's in the back. So we'll collect those and give them to them so we can start the process of trying to get it on the ballot for 2026. I know you know Medicaid is important, particularly for people with low income. 1.4 million Floridians would qualify if this ballot measure passes. Florida is one of 10 states that never expanded Medicaid since 2013. Right? So we need to get this done. So please sign that petition. I'm the Vice President of the club, Dennis Foley, your host today. The wonderful President Diane Foley is here somewhere running around. So as I was preparing for the meeting, I came across a column this morning that had the headline, "The Dumbest Time in American History." Yes. And one of the first sentences said, "Right now, every day is stupid day." And I think we all know what that means and why it's happening. And why, one of the reasons why we're here is to keep the pressure on to stop all these crazy things that are going on and to restore decency to our politics and to our society. So there are a lot of pushback things going on all around us, all over the nation and here. Just to mention a couple, there was a great demonstration Wednesday at Lake Sumter Landing in support of Ukraine. There are some postcards that Dean Owens put together that are going to go out next week. The details will be in the newsletter tomorrow. It's called Postcards to a Felon. It's sent to the White House. So you'll have a chance to send a personal postcard in greeting to Donald Trump. There's a Josh Weil event coming up. He'll be here a little bit as a hardworking candidate covering 6 counties. He'll be a couple minutes late getting to us today, but that's all right. We've got plenty to talk about. The Sumter Democrats are putting together a golf cart caravan and rally event. You have to sign up, so the link will be in the newsletter tomorrow because they have limited space. To get the actual location and the time and all that, you need to sign up to do it. So again, get there early if you want to get involved in that. That'll be March 20th in the villages. Now, why, you might ask, are Democrats in the villages working for a candidate whose district is in Lake County and Marion, among others, but not in Sumter? And the answer is, we're hoping because several villages' neighborhoods, of course, are in the Marion portion that his district is in, Congressional District 6, and a bigger portion of Lake. So we're trying to help in any way we can with our neighbors and anywhere in Marion and Lake County. So whatever you can do, please help out. Let's see. What else was I going to mention here? Oh yeah, why don't you stand for the pledge? Next slide.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a moment of reflection every meeting. And today, next slide, please. Last month, we reflected on the importance of Black History Month, which the government is trying to wipe out. Similarly, women are being terribly and grossly mistreated under this administration and the far right. So we thought today's reflection would be on the importance and significance of women, as it's Women's History Month. And as I was reading on the history, the fight has gone on for 100 and some years to get women the equality and the rights they deserve, and to be strong. And one of the things I came across was women make history every day. Let us reflect on that for just a second. All right, thank you. Next slide, please. Now, we officially get to vote on the new board. I'm going to remind you who the candidates are to fill the board for next year. Their term starts April 1st. Next slide. Bill Knudsen for president. Phyllis Leopold for vice president. Next slide, please. Amy Shaw for parliamentarian. Ash Marwa for treasurer. Next slide, please. Georgia Schonauer for membership. Susan Houston for hospitality. Kathy Hoover for director at large. Patty Rasdell London for director at large. Harold Kramer for director at large. And Melissa Keller for director at large. We had a couple of resignations between the period the nominating committee presented that slate and now. So Colleen Jade has emerged as a candidate for Director of Technology. She was appointed by the President to be an interim until we can vote on her, so she's on the ballot today. And the same with Lori Shipley for Secretary. So that is your slate of candidates. So please vote yes or no. And if you have not already, cast your ballot early. We had early voting, didn't even realize that. We'll pick those up and we'll count them and we'll know the results by the end of the meeting. Okay, is Josh here? No?
Yes.
Yes? Is Josh here? Josh Weil? Well, where is he? Send him over here. He wants the standing ovation. So he's working the crowd. There he is. I see a suit. Josh Weil.
My name is Josh Weil. I'm your Democratic nominee for U.S. Congress in this We're having an issue outside this room because they want us to be quiet. They don't get to threaten the infrastructure of this nation and then ask us to be quiet about it. They don't get to come after the Federal Department of Education and try to destroy the infrastructure and funding for 97,000 public schools. And that's what keeps you quiet about it. They don't get to come after Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid and ask us to be quiet about it. They don't get to defund FEMA. They don't get to come after a woman's right to control her own body. They don't get to create arbitrary trade wars with our allies to raise their cost of goods to the American people and ask us to be quiet about it. They didn't expect this many of us here. They should have known better. I want to tell you a little bit about this race. So, this is a race that obviously started because when Donald Trump won last November, he appointed a bunch of people from Florida to join his cabinet and enter his administration. One of them being Mike Waltz, the former representative here in District 6. One of my favorite things to give you an idea of how well Mike Waltz has served District 6 is that every time we go out canvassing and we're knocking on doors and we're talking to people, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, is that they've never heard of Mike Waltz. Real champion of the community. But now here we are, right? We have this race, and we didn't get to control the timeline. We didn't get to set any of it up. Ron DeSantis decided to give people 10 days to get their paperwork in order to file, to raise the money, to get your bank accounts, to get everything lined up, or the ballot would move on without you. Now, I'm a public school teacher, 13 years. Got those deep public school teacher pockets. Single father of 2 boys. Right? Working to make ends meet. Did not have $10,440 to just file and get on the ballot. But we got our paperwork together quickly. We went on to Blue Sky, new social media app. And we pushed, we let people know what was going on. And we asked. Honestly, we couldn't even get all of our funding that we were using to begin. The only way we could accept money was we had a PayPal account with a pay link, and we had a Google form to collect reporting information for the FEC. And in 9 days, we collected a little over $11,000. We had a Democrat on the ballot who could compete and who could win in this race. That was December 7th. December 7th, the ballots got finalized. Since then, we have raised over $8 million. That is a number that means something. That is the largest number of any congressional campaign in the history of the state of Florida. No campaign in Miami, no campaign in Orlando or Tampa or Jacksonville has raised this much money, Republican or Democrat, in the history of the state. And it means something in District 6. Because people look at District 6 and they ask, how is a Democrat supposed to win? Look at the voting numbers. But the voting numbers are representative. They're not representative of the people who live there. They're representative of the message the people who live there have been able to receive. And for the last 3 cycles, we haven't had a candidate who has been able to gain traction, get funding, or get their message out. Messaging is not free. Just, I approve the invoices. Messaging is not free. In the last cycle, Bishop Stockton, who's a great man, would have been a phenomenal congressman, raised $34,000.
Wow.
Mike Waltz had 3.2 million. When you're outraised 100 to 1, when you're spending pennies to their dollars, you cannot get your message out to people. You cannot message effectively to let people know that there is another choice, that there is another option, that there is someone who is willing to actually serve you and represent you in Washington. We've had no problem getting our messaging out. Some of you are probably tired of hearing our messaging at this point. We've launched this week a television campaign. $1.5 million. Which is the amount that most congressional races spend in 4 to 6 months. And we are slamming it out there, dominating the airwaves, network, cable, digital, and streaming over the final 4 weeks leading up to Election Day. We have a canvassing team right now. Our paid canvassers are hitting over our paid canvassers of over 150 people on the ground knocking on doors every day, hitting more than 15,000 doors every day. Our volunteer crew is our amazing volunteer crew coming out across 7 counties. Because y'all, Sumter isn't even in the district. And you are showing up in volume to help us hit doors in Marion and Lake County. Our amazing volunteer team has had over 100 people out every day for the last 2 weeks, hitting doors and getting the message out. And we see the return. We get to track the data. We see the ballots coming in. And every day, in a district that is 46% Republican and 27% Democrat and 27% NPA. So there's, mind you, there's enough, more than enough non-Republicans. In a district that has almost twice as many Republicans, the Republicans have barely turned out more ballots than us in vote by mail up until now. It is a thin margin in terms of how many more. And when you add in the NPAs, and when you add in the significant number of Republicans who are also supporting this campaign, a significant number of Republicans who, some of them have even requested yard signs in their areas, who are making videos for our canvassers when they come there, saying that they support Josh Weil for Congress. We have the lead in ballots right now. We win. But it doesn't end today. We got three more weeks. We got a lot of time. And the thing is, we've been making a lot of noise. They're not the only ones who hurt us. Randy Fine has woken up. Randy Fine has found his way to District 6. I was worried we were going to have to send him a Google Maps link. But he's come out. He is a nasty person. We have to hold the line. We have the support. We have the policies. We have the message. We have the money. We have the people. We have to get the votes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We have everything we need to take back the House, to make Hakeem Jeffries the first black. take back chairmanship of committees in the House. People ask me, how is it possible? How can Elon Musk, who has never been elected, who has no congressional appointment, who has not been voted on or nominated or anything, how can he have access to these federal departments? How can he block out members of Congress from these departments as he runs wild through private data of American citizens, as he puts freezes on government-signed contracts, congressionally approved, as he sends out memos firing people, federal employees? How is this possible? Well, the president allows it, but we have checks and balances.
Where?
This is a government of checks and balances, which is one of the main issues with the idea of government efficiency anyway. Governments are not supposed to be efficient. It's not a corporate profit stream. There's supposed to be redundancy. The redundancy is called checks and balances. It's separations of powers, not consolidation of powers. On what Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency is doing is the House Oversight Committee. The Congressional Oversight Committee. That's where oversight comes from. And because we have a Republican Speaker of the House, it means we have Republican chairs and Republican majorities on every committee and subcommittee in Congress. When we win, and we will, we have chairmanship over oversight, and oversight begins. So what I'm asking from you today, I'm asking, if you live in District 6, we need your vote. If you know anyone who lives in District 6, we need their vote. And we need to continue to get this message out, because nothing, all the TV, all the mailers, all the Facebook ads and the social media, nothing connects with people like real human contact. Getting to their doors, meeting them at events, going out to farmers markets and First Fridays, and being there and having real human conversations, and letting them know that there is a real candidate who is running to serve everyone in this district and to protect this nation. This is an incredible room. And with your help, we will win this. And I will be your next U.S. Congressman from District. We good to take some questions, Bob? I don't plan these things. Do we have any questions?
What made you want to join this race?
So, I've run for office once before, back after Biden won in 2020, looking ahead and looking at the field and the bench that we had in Florida, and just not seeing the type of representation that I wanted across the state. I put together a campaign in my garage, running for U.S. Senate. And it was an incredible learning experience. For 18 months, I built campaign teams and with no money. And we grinded out fundraising. We traveled all over the state, visited every county. I was here in the villages once or twice. We went everywhere. We responded to every ask. So Bradford County DEC would ask for help doing voter registration, and we were there and we showed up. Manal Fakhoury asked for help canvassing in her mayoral race, we show up. The Starbucks unionizing going on down in South Florida at the time, they asked for help, we show up. We made a ton of great connections across the state during that time. And afterwards, when I went back to work, started in my leadership position at Kissimmee Middle School, working there, I've known that at some point I was gonna do a real run. Like, now that I know how you start a campaign, now that I know how you build a campaign, now that I have the connections, I knew that it was gonna come at some point. So when Mike Waltz was nominated for National Security Advisor, my first thought was, this is gonna be an interesting race. And about a day or two later, I got the answer to one of my lingering questions. Because even throughout the last month of the presidential race, we had seen and known that they wanted to dissolve the Federal Department of Education. As someone who works in school leadership, I know that it's a lot more strings there than most people realize. Federal Department of Education directly funds our schools with the federal supplemental funding. It doesn't go through the state or the district, it goes directly to the schools. It supports our schools with the most need, our Title I schools, our schools with large percentages of families in the lowest income brackets, our schools with students with special needs. We rely on this money, and in Florida, where we have some of the lowest per student funding in the country, it makes up an even larger percent of our budgets here, because the state is giving us less money, so what we get from the federal government is a bigger piece of the pie. There's no way we can survive with that cut if we lose that. And so what happens to that money? Even if you move special needs and they're not repealing IDEA, right? They're not repealing the ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act, right? So what happens to that money and that commitment to those kids? And about 2-3 days after the election in November, they released it in writing. And they said that in order to basically accommodate the fact that there will be no more infrastructure, there will be no more direct connection, they're just gonna bundle up all the money, figure out what all the schools in the state would get, and they're gonna give it to the state, and the governor can distribute it as he sees fit. That was my response. That was the point where I knew our public schools are in trouble. We're going to, if they do that, Ron DeSantis has shown us for 6 years that he is willing to take every dollar he can out of our public schools and give them to privates and charters. And if you give him the entire allotment of federal supplementing funds for our schools across the state, he will take it all. We will have school closures, we will have school consolidations, they will have to update the fish codes and change class sizes, because there is no way without that money you can accommodate core classes with 18 to 25 kids based on the age range. It will devastate our public schools. And it's not gonna matter if you're wearing a blue hat or a red hat. They're not just gonna say, well, if you voted for Kamala, then your kids go to the underfunded school. It's going to impact everyone. And it was a message that I felt had to get out there, that we had to have someone who could explain it, who could message it, and help people understand the impending threat. So I stepped into the race.
Can you address the business of registering information? Because they do kind of change things. Make sure you register. Can't hear.
She asked me to address the issues with registering to vote. So there are a couple things here in Florida. The first is that you have to be registered at your address for at least 30 days. So the registration deadline to vote on April 1st was March 3rd. It passed this previous Monday. So you have to be currently registered. In our primaries, we have a closed primary system, which means that only you have to be registered with the party that is having the primary. So to vote in our primary on January 28th, you had to be a registered Democrat or a registered Republican. Anyone who's registered as a member of an independent party or no party affiliation is not allowed to participate in primary elections. But everyone is allowed to participate in the general election as long as you live in the district and have up-to-date voter registration. There are, vote by mail is an issue where they passed a law a few years back that after every major November election, so every November election in an even-numbered year, they clear 100% of the vote by mail registrations. It's all gone. Every voter in the state, no one the day after the election is registered for vote by mail anymore, and you have to re-register. So in order to have received, for people who are receiving vote by mail ballots in this race, they have re-registered since the November election and now. And that can go on, and you can continue to register to receive your ballot in time up until March 16th. So we have about another week left where you can continue to sign up if you need to get a ballot mailed to you. The final thing is that they also do what are called voter purges. And this has been more impactful and difficult to catch up on. And so they do a lot of them after the November elections in that December-January period. They'll particularly target people who didn't vote in November or choose to vote, but they also have a tendency to over-target people with ethnic-sounding last names, or people who are registered as Democrats, or people who... Despite whatever they say, the numbers that come out when they release the purges are never equally balanced, completely random. And the way the purges work is that supposedly, allegedly, they send out 3 cards over a extended period of time of like 6 months. So they send you out a mailing card saying, hey, we're trying to confirm your address, please let us know that the registered voter still lives here. And then a couple months later, they send you a second card. This is your second notice. We're trying to confirm that you live here. We want to make sure that this is still a valid address for a registered voter. And then at the end, you get a third card, final notice. If you do not respond to this, then you will be removed from the voting rolls. Now, I have seen lots of people show me and share with me their third and final notice cards. I have never had anyone share or show with me a first or second notice card. That may be anecdotal evidence, but we saw even in December, shortly after this election, so many people getting their third notice cards, their final notice, they're about to be purged or pulled from the voter rolls, and they're like, what happened? How is this legal or fair or real? And it's legal because we've had a Republican governor in office since January of 1999, and we've had a Republican supermajority in the state legislature for over a decade. And so they made the laws, and they've made them to not be equitable or in good faith or service for all Floridians. And it's one of the reasons why we talk about local issues in a federal race, because there is no greater argument against states' rights than the state of Florida.
Yeah. Do you feel that your campaign is effectively reaching the rural areas in Marion County? They're kind of hard to get to sometimes.
So what's the question?
The question was, do we feel our campaign is effectively reaching the rural areas in Marion County? And yes. And the reason is because we're paying people. You've got to pay people. It's one of my favorite things I'll share. After Ossoff and Warnock's victory it was early February when it all finally, because they had to go to the runoff election, right, in 2021. Shortly after that, Jamie Harrison was named the new chair of the DNC, the National Party, and he had his first big national fundraising call. And on the call, the big star guest was John Ossoff. And so the call starts, and he's like, John. I don't make fun of him. Jamie Harrison's a great man. But he's like, John, tell us, everyone wants to know, how did you do it, right? How did you get everyone out in Georgia? How did you turn Georgia blue? How did you do it? And he goes, you're not gonna like this, but we paid people. He goes, we stopped asking people to dedicate, their labor, their time, their energy, in the hopes of being repaid and our promises in the future. Right? If we're asking for their commitment, if we're asking them to take us to victory, we need to pay them for their time, we need to pay them for their energy, we need to pay them for their labor. He goes, so we paid people, and they worked their butts off for us. And so we've known all along that, if we wanted to make sure that we were hitting the turfs that we needed to hit, if we wanted to make sure that we had people in Silver Springs and Crescent City and Umatilla and, some of the smaller places, we had to make sure that we had paid teams, that people were getting paid to go out there, hit all those doors, and do it right every day. And we've had the teams out there, and they're continuing to be out there. I couldn't give you the look at the full service, the full coverage map of where we hit, but I know that we have hit in the neighborhood of 300,000 doors across this district so far. And so, wherever they are, we're finding them.
Yeah, my question was, I live here for the winter, but I'm up on Long Island, where National had promised a tremendous amount of money to win the 4 seats back, okay? They did not come through. They flew Hakeem Jeffries in the last minute, and it just didn't make the papers, etc. So I was wondering what National is doing. Do you have a commitment from National? Have you been badgering them for the money? Because this is the most important thing in this nation right now, frankly. This is the most important issue. Ukraine, everything else is significant to taking back Congress.
So she wanted to know about our commitment from the National Party.
And
one of the things, and we've been saying this to people from the very beginning, people have asked, even early on during the primary, shortly after the primary election on January 28th, right? Are they coming? When are they coming? What are they doing for you? And what I've said is, we can't wait for someone to save us. If we waited around for the state party or the national party to be here, there would never be enough time. We have to be able to save ourselves.
Can you call Hakeem directly? Because they did, and
I
he
don't
came the
have
last
Hakeem's
minute.
number directly. I have
No,
a couple
I'm
of their
serious.
numbers
I'm
at this
serious.
point,
They
which is
flew
nice.
him to Long Island the week before the election, and they had everybody there. Letitia James, the governor. It was too little, too late. They waited till the last minute, and they didn't advertise it. There really is. They should be doing it. This is important. I think you got to get them here.
We do have a number of events. We've been building a massive event calendar for the month of March for Get Out the Vote. We have events scheduled and confirmed with new DNC vice chairs, David Hogg and Malcolm Kenyatta, who are both coming down and supporting and helping us get out the vote. We do have a commitment. I don't have Hakeem Jeffries' number. I can't text him, but I do have Ken Martin's number.
I'll try.
And our new national party chair, Ken Martin, is confirmed, not with a date yet, but that he is coming down and rallying the troops. We have spoken with every chair of the Southern Caucus, and Nikki Fried has gone and followed up with them and confirmed that every state in the Southern Caucus, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, are all coming down in the final 2 weeks. They are all bringing the cavalry and bringing the troops to push out the vote.
There we go.
We want them here and we need them here during early voting.
Everybody can probably email Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah.
He will come. I'm telling you, he will come. He came a little too late to Long Island, but he will come if they get on their task and make it.
I mean, Hakeem Jeffries should come. I'm trying to get the man a promotion. do have their support and we are working. Nikki Fried has been an incredible asset and help to this campaign since our primary victory. And you know, we are in regular touch with her and her team. So the state and national parties will be coming in. The cavalry's coming during early voting because that's when we need them to drive everyone out to the polls. Hold on, this woman back here is very patient.
Title I schools really need federal money for school lunches. What do you think will happen if what they're threatening to do is to dissolve the Department of Education? What will happen to Title I money?
So, they dissolved the Federal Department of Education. There's a bill in Congress that you can look up that's already been written and proposed on how they do it. So all of the responsibilities for students with special needs and everything related to IDEA is going to Health and Human Services, right? Because Robert Kennedy Jr. will do a fantastic job of making sure our students with special needs are taken care of. He wants to send them out to farms. It's not an Onion article, this isn't like a joke or satire, like he wants to send people on medication and people with special needs out to farms. Issues to deal with housing and low socioeconomic go to HUD. Issues to deal with student civil rights and issues of justice, anything relating to the Tinker Des Moines case where students do not leave their constitutional rights at the schoolhouse gate, go to the Department of Justice, and Bondi. And for some reason that no matter how many times I've read the bill, I still don't necessarily understand. Anything to do with Indian students goes to the Department of the Interior. So the pieces are being moved around to other departments. Someone still has to oversee that, right? But what happens to the funding? And the money getting disconnected is going to be the crucial hurt. And for our Title I schools, absolutely devastating. You know, I'm on school leadership at a Title I middle school in downtown Kissimmee, and we are stretched saran wrap thin with that money. We continue to lose allocations every year, and a lot of it is because of the way Governor DeSantis has managed education and education funding. We have, you know, you may have noticed over the last 5 years, he has implemented 3 mandatory $1,000 raises across the board for all teachers in the state, which, don't get me wrong, I appreciate that. But the problem is, and what usually doesn't get included in the articles about it if you're reading, is that he hasn't raised the per student funding. He hasn't raised the budget, right? So every time, my middle school has 75 teachers. Every time you do a mandatory raise of $1,000 for every teacher, you add $75,000 to what's going out, but we don't have an extra $75,000 coming in. So we have to cut, you know, a dean and a para. We have to cut, you know, we lose support outside of the classrooms with each one. You know, my job this year, my title, official title at Kissimmee Middle School is instructional coach / student services liaison / MTSS coordinator. And 3 years ago when I started there, those were 3 people's jobs. But we don't have the allocations for it anymore. The job needs to get done. So, you know, how do we handle food? You know, we might wind up in a situation where, you know, we're looking at or relying on not-for-profits to bring in and provide food, because I can tell you in our Title I schools, we give them 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch, and for a lot of our kids, that's all they get.
You know, I'm not a Donald Trump supporter at all, but I will give him his due, his cleverness of announcing early. And, you know, when is a Democrat going to announce that they're running for president? How long do we have to wait?
So she asked about when will we see a Democrat running for president? Like how long in this next cycle for 2028? you're not the first person to ask this. You know, we've had someone about a week or two saying, you know, like, why can't the party reorganize or find someone early to get going? Because what we just saw was an election that, even though we all got caught up in the, you know, we got caught up in the energy and the momentum and the amazing job Kamala Harris did of energizing the base and getting it was really an election that, if you take a step back and look at it objectively, shouldn't have been that close. One candidate was campaigning for 4 years. 4 years. The other one was given 90 days. How do we mend that? You know, if people started, if we saw Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom and John Ossoff, or, you know, we saw, or Mayor Pete, not Mayor Pete, Secretary Pete, very good criticism as well. You'd start seeing, you know, my God, how early, it's 4 years away, what are we doing? But honestly, we need to be messaging, and we need to be building for that. And who knows, I mean, maybe we will start seeing, you know, typically they wait until after the midterm elections, but we really can't. We need to be messaging for 4 years on this, and we need to have strong leadership out there leading the charge. Whether or not you think Donald Trump is a strong leader, he was leading their messaging for 4 years, and it worked.
I'm just curious because we're going to have someone run for governor in another 2 years. I have not heard anything from the Democrats.
So she asked about the, along the same lines, we have a governor's race here in 2026. Haven't heard from the Democrats. Not in the way that we have heard from the Republicans, right? The Republicans have 2 big name candidates that are already out there fighting it out in the media. You have Byron Donalds, who has received the endorsement from President Trump, and you have Casey DeSantis, who we feel pretty sure is going to get the endorsement from Ron. There are Democrats who have been, you know, pre-organizing. Any article you read about any Democratic state senator or past elected or someone who is being considered or being asked or talked about, they have a committee and they're working on it. Like, those articles don't write themselves. So Gwen Graham is out there, Jason Brador is out there. There are a number of people in our party who are considering it, but our bench is not as deep as it needs to be right now. We need to be building for our future, and I'm going to use that just kind of springboard and brag about our campaign a little. One of the things that I've been very specific about in the construction of this campaign was that we needed people from out of state. We needed people who have worked big campaigns like this, who have run larger field operations than any campaign in Florida has. We needed people who have worked flipping red districts. No one in Florida's got that experience right now. We needed people who could come in having done this in other places and bring it here. But we also needed to build our bench. We needed to have, and we have an incredible group of members from Florida Young Democrats that we brought on, members who include my deputy campaign manager, Gabrielle Adekunle, our deputy field director, Gavin Cox, Matthew Groszelski out of Orlando, who's a soil and water rep there, and many more. If I try going through the whole list, I'm going to be leaving more people out. But we brought in a number of people who are getting experience on large campaigns, who are getting experience on how to build the fundraising, on how to build the field, on how to manage the comms, because we're gonna leave District 6 better when we're done. We're gonna leave a deeper bench of people who can help build and run more successful campaigns after us, because that's what the state of Florida needs.
We just recently had the death of one member of the House, Democratic member of the House, an African American. If you win and the other special election in Florida goes Democratic and we win the special election, is it Massachusetts that has the third one? New York. If we win those three, will we have a majority in the House of Representatives?
So the question is about getting a majority in the House of Representatives. And the math on that, unfortunately and tragically, changed this week with the passing of a Democratic representative from Texas. Sylvester Turner, thank you. So roll it back to November. This was, all the elections are counted. Republicans have 220 seats, Democrats have 215. It's a 5-seat difference. 20 seconds later, Matt Gaetz resigns to try and run and hide from an ethics investigation, 219 to 215. Trump nominates Mike Waltz for National Security Advisor, 218 to 215. Victoria Sparks was elected as a Republican from Indiana. She decaucuses and leaves the Republican Party and becomes an independent. Now, a number of newspapers continue to count her in their Republican total, which personally drives me crazy, because when a Democrat does that, they are falling all over themselves, tripping to change that number as quickly as possible. Right? Victoria Sparks is still in Congress, but brings your total number of Republicans down to 217. There's one more coming, right? So Elise Stefanik, representative from New York, they are, honestly, both sides are really dragging this one out. The state of New York, well, so I mentioned here, Ron DeSantis, Republican governor, tried to speed this up and make this election happen as quickly as possible to prevent Democrats from getting on the ballot, from having the time to build successful campaigns that could make inroads in this district. Didn't work. In New York, they have a Democratic governor, Kathy Hochul. She's looking at the fact that we have one election. We have the entire state, an incredibly strong infrastructure for a state Democratic Party in New York, and we can put all of our time and our energy and resources and people into it. How much time do we need? We'll schedule the election then. So they're not scheduling that one until later this year, because they're giving themselves the time that they want to take that seat, which is good. On the other hand, or on the other side, Republicans are also dragging it out because the margin's so thin. Normally, Elise Stefanik would have been confirmed to her new position as UN ambassador by now. They're leaving her in the House because they have such a tight margin. So they're trying to stall on filling that position with her because they want to keep that extra vote. So until they confirm her, they're at 217 guaranteed. We're at then Sylvester Turner passes, we drop to 214. So ultimately, where we're at now is there will be a special election, probably in the summer in Texas, for that seat that will bring another Democrat back. We have two here on April 1st, our race in District 6, and Gay Valamont running up in District 1, the 4 westernmost counties in the Panhandle. If we win both of those, last week we were saying we would go up to 217. We're tied with Stefanik. We win when she's confirmed. Now, because there's going to be a slight delay until we get that Texas seat back, winning both of them gets us to 216, which only keeps us tied with them when Stefanik goes, and then ultimately we take it when we fill Representative Turner's seat this summer. So we do have, the math on it got a little trickier, and I hate to put the focus on, of a dedicated public servant's untimely passing on how it impacts our numbers and our map. Because, his, honoring his work and his memory and legacy should be about more than that. But it does put us in a place where pragmatically we see the map and it changes how quickly we take back the House.
All right, let's say thank you to Josh. All right, if you had a specific question you really needed to get answered, he's going to go out in the hallway for a little while, and you can go out and ask him that question. Group photo time, stay up.
Everybody in back hear me okay? Yeah. Raise them high. And everyone say, democracy! Democracy! Thank you, you're an amazing group.
Thank you. All right. Before we go on to the next speaker and the rest of the program, we're going to collect the ballots. So I need a couple of club member volunteers. Pass them to the center aisle, please. If you haven't turned them in already, center aisle. And someone will come pick them up off the end. Pass your ballots to the center aisle, please. And someone will come pick them up.
Can I make a quick announcement before y'all leave? I have had many people in this room ask me, how can we contribute financially to Josh Weil for Congress? If you would like to write a check, there's a P.O. box at the bottom of our website. That's www.joshweil.us. joshweil.us.
joshweil.us. We will let you use the microphone.
Also, if you have a yard sign in your hand and you would like to keep it, feel free. If you're not in district, you might consider launching it along a roadway somewhere. That would be much appreciated.
Or give it to people who live in this.
H sticks are in back if you want to launch them. We thank you so much for that. If you would like to volunteer to canvass, we have Shannon ready to sign you up. We thank you so much for your support. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful day.
All right, all the ballots being turned in. All right, looks like we're pretty good to go. All right, so playing on something Josh said, the Republican congressmen going out into the districts are getting so much flack from all the things that are going on and how mad people are. These are Republican districts. that the Republican leadership advised them to no longer hold town halls in public. And so the response from the Democrat Governors Association came out late last week, and it said that if they won't hold a town hall in your district, Tim Walz will come here and do one in your district. So a request from Barbie Hart Hall has already gone out to get Tim Walz here. We'll keep you posted. We hope that happens. All right, so our next speaker is the newly elected chair of the Democratic Party of Sumter, the Sumter Democratic Executive Committee. Please welcome Deb Faris.
He's a little taller though. Well, it is wonderful to be in a It is wonderful to be in a room with so many like-minded people. So I don't know how many of you are aware of all the chaos in Washington right now. Anybody having trouble sleeping anymore? Well, it's not all bad news, because there's a lot of Democrats that are willing to work to make things better for this country. If you remember, back when I was in school, we actually taught civics and things about government. So we, the people, have the say, and we're going to all have to stand up as Democrats and ask for what we want. So this is not a time to sit back and wait till your neighbor does it. This is a time we all have to stand up and fight for what we believe in. So I'm very willing to do my part. And if you're unaware, there is a very strong group of dedicated servants who all volunteer our time in the Democratic Party in Sumter County. And the former chair, Bob Berg, is one of those people who he and all the other members of the Democratic Executive Committee have done a fabulous job, and it's the reason I'm willing to serve, because they're willing to support me. And I need all of your support too. So if you have not volunteered in some capacity, I'm the person who last year led the canvassing in Sumter County for the parts that were outside the villages. So a lot of you know me. A lot of you have volunteered for me, and I greatly appreciate that. But canvassing isn't for everybody, so there are lots of other ways to tap in. You can donate money to the cause. You can write postcards. You can, make phone calls. There's all kinds of ways you can help. So be involved. That's the way. We don't know for sure if Congress is going to save us or if the courts are going to save us, but we can do this. There's more of us than there are of them. Now, I have been helping canvass for Josh Weil's campaign, and it's usual when you go to a Democrat's home that you get a positive response. In the past, when I went to the homes of NPAs or no party affiliates, some of those people weren't so friendly. Most of the time now, I'm better received when I go to one of their homes. In fact, one NPA recently, when I told him I was a Democrat and I was volunteering for Josh Weil's campaign, he told me, he said, I have voted Republican my entire life. Give me that card. I'm not ever voting for another Republican. I will vote for thanks. It's nice to meet all of you, and I hope to see you all in a volunteer position sometime soon. Anyone from Lake County who represents the DC still here? I'm here. Okay.
Someone wants to talk to you. Okay, so Diane and I went out for Chinese food last night, and while there's a lot of negativity around here, I rely entirely on fortune cookies to tell me how I'm doing. So this was my fortune. Positivity is a treasure that enriches your life. Next slide, please. So we're moving into the nonpartisan, nonprofit portion of the program. We have two fantastic organizations here who are helping folks in our community. And the first one up is Forward Pass. Please welcome Keith Hart. Sally Palmer.
I'm shorter than her. Hi, by the way, I'm a Democrat, so safe space. And, please forgive my Philadelphia accent. All right, Forward Pass is a nonprofit 501c, and we do not receive any state or federal funds. Our primary purpose is to house teenagers who have aged out of foster care. You may or may not know this, but when a foster care child reaches 18, the state no longer pays the foster parent any money. That means we have a lot of homeless teenagers. Currently, Florida has 3,000 homeless teenagers. What we do is we house them, we educate them, and get them employment. So how do we do this? Well, we rent apartments and houses, and we get the children on Medicare and food stamps, so we're real nervous about those programs. Our children must go work and they must go to school. We push them toward Lake Tech. Lake Tech has a program called A Career in a Year, and they can become a welder or a beautician or a CNA or a firefighter. One of our kids is now a Mount Dora policeman. One in 4 ex-foster children ends up in jail. We're trying to stop that by giving them a handout. Remember, when they get out and they're 18, they have no family. They have no support. How are they going to pay rent? What are they going to do? One of our solutions was pretty cool. We built 10 tiny homes. Each tiny home has 2 bedrooms, and it's located in Eustis, which is 1 mile from Lake Tech. Our kids don't have cars, so they can ride their bikes or walk to Lake Tech. The property was given to us by a church. It houses, again, 10 houses, 2 bedrooms. It currently houses 20 children. We have 44. We're going to do it again. Provided Medicare and food stamps and tuition is still paid for these kids. If these programs go away for us, we are in trouble. So Josh is right, it affects everybody. By the way, he's a tough act to follow. I had pictures or some films of the tiny homes, but they're not here. So anyway, in addition to all of these things, we have to provide toiletries and cleaning supplies, because when you are on food stamps, you may not buy anything that is not food. Toilet paper, laundry detergent, all the stuff you buy at the supermarket that you don't need. We keep a supply of those for the kids. We welcome donations for that, of these products. Okay, we also keep food, a little food pantry, because even though our kids are on food stamps, it gets tight towards the end of the month. So, we're entirely run by volunteers. We have about 4 staff that's paid. Other than that, we run with about 35, 40 volunteers. We would love to have some volunteers for the villages.
Where are you located?
We're in Lakesburg, Lake County. Yeah. All of our kids are in Lake County. So it should be a national organization. It's a problem nobody thinks about. But we're just trying to do our part. Yeah, did you have a question?
Not a question, just a point of reference. You mentioned 3,000 kids are in this program in the county,
No, there's 3,000 homeless teenagers in the entire state of Florida.
in the entire state of Florida. To give a rough idea, there's about 200 people in this room right here. This would be about 15 rooms like this of kids that need the service.
Wow.
Thank you. We need your support. We need your money. Do you have it? The video. Yeah, okay. Do you want to play? These are our houses, so we'd like you to see them. They're gorgeous.
So this is the Cottages on Grove. It's a micro-community of tiny homes that services the Forward Paths Foundation.
They are designed to house our at-risk youth, which typically are comprised of kids aging out of foster care and homeless unaccompanied youth.
3, 2, 1.
To see Forward Path step in and allow space for kids to grow and to become who they want to be, it was just important to me.
When you're struggling to find your next meal or to find where you're going to sleep for the night, it can be really enticing to fall into a bad way. So without an organization like this, it can be tough.
I was abused growing up, and then I got kicked out at 18, so I was kind of fending for myself, and then I found Court House, so then they kind of all helped me get to where I'm at today.
The great thing about this project is it's 1.2 miles from Lake Tuck, where the kids can go to school, they can work on their GED or get that career in a year.
Right now I'm in college. I go to Lake Technical College right here in Eustis. I'm in culinary and I'm an ambassador. So as soon as I finish the culinary program, I want to open my own bakery.
We've been really strongly supported by 2 churches, Morrison United Methodist Church first for giving us office space, and then the First United Methodist Church of Eustis for just so graciously giving us this almost 2-acre entire block piece of land.
Many of our youth have been in foster homes for a great deal of their lives, sometimes literally dozens of foster homes. So to be in a stable home environment for even several years as they transition into responsible adult life is a huge revelation to them.
I was sitting at a meeting with Denise and we were talking, and she wanted to, she had this idea, so I kind of put it on paper, so kind of gave her this concept and she loved it, and here we are almost 4 years later.
There's such a need for the youth in our community who are aging out of foster care and need a place to call home, and this is the perfect example of how it can be executed in a quality way, and other communities should see this as a true opportunity to do the same.
Forward Paths Foundation has a great mission to help youth at risk, kids aging out of foster care, and when our board heard about this project, we were super excited to get involved, so we connected Taylor Morrison and Ashton Woods with this project.
Ashton Woods provided general contracting services, including bidding and estimating and job site management. We provided initial budgets to Forward Paths, connected with Homemade, and we've stuck to that budget.
And it's just been a tremendous honor to be able to provide young adults a chance to enter adulthood with a brand new home, so I'm very fortunate to be a part of it.
Phoenix contributed the low voltage through our partner at Ashton Woods. What we installed allows people to plug a computer or a TV or anything like that into the jack and then have internet throughout their house. And we wanted to make sure that they could enjoy their house as soon as possible.
They can live here as long as they need to, really. They can live here, while they go to school and they go to work, as long as they're doing those 2 things.
You walk down this sidewalk and you see the fact that there's going to be interaction on these front porches, and an instant sense of community just warms my heart.
When the youth in our program who are part of the community. When they do better, the community does better.
And there's so many people that do fundraisers and donations to support this, and we couldn't have done them without them. From the lady that writes that $25 check every month to the family that gives and has sponsored these homes, it's all amazing.
The ability for our kids to get out and get into the community, to get their education, to become productive members of our community, I think is what it's all about.
Sorry for that little commercial. That was opening day when, of course, everybody that wasn't involved had to pat themselves on the back. Of course. We all know how that goes. So anyway, that's us. We're looking right now for some land. We cannot afford to buy land. And so as soon as we get a land donation to build another 10 houses, we're going to start capital funding, or fundraising, I should say. So I need a big check from all of you. Thank you for listening, and if you have any more questions.
All right, so our next nonprofit coming up is Hands of Mercy Everywhere, and they also have a short video, and their speaker is Diane Schofield.
Good morning, or afternoon, morning. So I just want to thank all of you for 21 years of supporting this ministry. I know that there are some of you in this room that know about us and have helped us. We are just up the road in Bellevue. 21 years ago, my kids started going to, college and getting married, and my husband and I were like, I just want something with purpose in my life. You know how hard you work, and it's like, you start to get older, you start freaking out. Now I live here. My husband plays golf 4 times a week and left me with this ministry to run. Somehow that wasn't so fair, but I love it. My daughter said, Mom, I'm going to marry this guy named Darren, and I want you to meet his parents. And I was like, okay, great, what do you want to do? And she said, will you go to their church? They're going to do, remember 21 years ago, they started small groups in churches. And she said, they're going to do that, and that would be a great way for you to get to know his family. And I was like, okay, let's go. And they did the book, The Purpose-Driven Life, which really just called me to my knees to say, I've prayed my whole life, I wanted purpose. Please use me. I have a lot of good talents, how can I help? So we decided on, in this small group, and this is my granddaughter over here with us, Maggie, that we were going to look at, we knew teens were never given the chance, if they were pregnant, to parent. There wasn't anywhere to help them. People would talk to them about adoption, people would talk to them about abortion, but nobody just said, hey, if you want to parent, we can open up a house and help you guys. So basically that's what we did. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, the oldest of 8 in a big old Irish Catholic family, and we just always felt like, you need help, you put a bunch of good family members around you, good volunteers, good, kind, loving community, we can do anything. So this is just a little short 4-minute video, and basically we do what Forward Path does, but our kids are 12 to 18. So our hope is we move forward and they have a place to go after they turn 18, because they did go to school, they did do their counseling, they did take our advice of, sometimes they're on medication. Many of the kids that come to us have been sex trafficked and, severely sexually abused as a child. So there's some medication involved and trauma counseling. So all of those steps are here. I'll let you see that instead of me. Go ahead. Okay. You're welcome.
When the best of me is barely breathing, when I'm not somebody I believe
Schofield, and I am the CEO and the founder of Hands of Mercy Everywhere. I felt so called to serve God and put purpose in my life. And a group of us got together and we're like, what can we do? How can we help people? And we came up with the idea that serving young teenage moms that were homeless would be a great idea. One of the hardest issues that we have to deal with these teenage girls is that their youth has truly been stolen. They have been abused physically, sexually, neglected, and abandoned by family members. And here we are, 20 years later, we've had about 1,900 girls that we've helped.
Cuando llegué aquí no sabía inglés, but now I speak English.
Hands of Mercy has been wonderful. I have absolutely loved it here. They have helped me underscore that it wasn't, none of this was my fault. I really love it here at Hands of Mercy because they helped me understand like the importance of my education. I've had 3 schools come and try to get me because they want me in their AP program. You know, Hands of Mercy is just a wonderful place.
I have a 5-year-old son, Asher Lawrence, and when we moved here, he was 2. These days, like, he is really involved in karate, have some quality of life and live normally, and I honestly credit that to Hands of Mercy because otherwise there's no telling what would have happened.
My name is Mona Terry. I'm the program director here at Hands of Mercy Everywhere. My role here on campus is to ensure that our programming is evidence-based. And so we provide what we call trust-based relational intervention.
My name is Candace Jackson, and I am a master's level residential therapist here with Hands of Mercy. So we know that 50% of mental illness begins at the age of 14. So here at Hands of Mercy, we are extremely excited to be able to provide in-home mental health services.
My name is Anita Santana, and I'm the intake and placement advocate here at Hands of Mercy Everywhere. Our main goal in talking to the young ladies and getting to know what their needs are is to talk to them about what services we have to offer to help them successfully transition into adulthood. So another thing that I do with our young ladies is we talk about their interests and their strengths and what their talents are, and then we try to find a fun and a positive way to help them showcase that and bring out their full potential.
Through the years, we found that there was also a need to help young girls that were homeless who were at risk of being sex trafficked. So we have expanded, and now we have 3 houses, and we just received a grant to build our life skills and education center for the girls to be able to help them as they move forward in their lifetime.
Hi, I'm Marge Felix with Hands of Mercy Everywhere. I'm our community liaison. We look for our community to help us on a daily basis with paper goods, which we go through so many personal items, and we just thank you, each and every one of you, for the help that you give us.
I think at this point you can see how many amazing people it takes to run a ministry like this. And without the continued support of each and every one of you, whether you are donating cash, donating your time, wanting to come up with new ideas to help us, to transport girls, there are endless amount of things that you can do to serve.
On behalf of Hands of Mercy Everywhere, we'd like to say thank you to all legislators, churches, organizations, clubs, and individuals. It's because of your passion for helping teens and teen mothers that we can do this together. God bless you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so as of today, is that on? Oh. As of today, we have not had any funding cuts, and we did get our new education grant renewed for next year. We started a small school for our kids who were 17 years old and only in the 7th grade. COVID, you know, all the trauma they've been through, they get really behind in school. Many of you come and help us with, it's not on. I think the batteries dead. Many of you have helped us with tutoring the kids, and what this school does is it's small little programs, like 6 to 8 weeks of CNA school, real estate licenses, getting a job in daycare. One of my sons owns part of a funeral home, and the girls love to do hair and makeup, so we thought
we could do mortuary cosmetology. They love it. So when they come, they still go to regular school. We try not to get them to drop out. But if they're too far behind, we have them take a prep GED class, and next month they can be in college. If they're not, we give them tutors to help them, and if they're really far behind, then you know what, let's just get a job. Today we have several of them working a huge event in Ocala for nonprofits. They're donating their time in the buffet line and learning how to serve food. At the Hilton, get a job making beds. You can travel the world making beds and be able to support your baby. So that's the kind of stuff that we're at right now. And always need your help with volunteering. We meet every second Tuesday of the month in Summerfield. We have a small office there. And if you have any questions, or if any of you in your churches, your organizations and clubs run into anyone in the Marion Lake and Sumter County area that need our help as far as maternity goes, need diapers, need baby clothes, we can help you with that. We will even help the volunteers we have a little group where they will throw a baby shower for her. So you just let us know. We just have to keep giving back what we receive and sharing it with an amazing community. Do you guys have any questions? We do tours on Tuesdays if you'd like to see the houses. They're old Victorian houses, all paid with your wonderful tax dollars of the community block grant that helped us get started. We've never been able to get started without that grant. Any questions? All righty, well, thank you so much, and you all have a good day.
All right, so the mention of Ocala reminds me, I should have said this earlier, there is a No Kings event in Ocala downtown starting at noon today, noon to 2. It's put on by OcalaBlueDots.com. And they're having an event, and I'm sure you could run up there. I know some of the people are going up there after this meeting, which is almost over. Will all the candidates for the board who are still here please stand up? All right, I'm here to tell you the votes have been counted. And it was close. But by a vote of 175 to nothing, you all elected. Next slide, please. The meeting is adjourned. Have a great day.